What's up everybody, Mike from Dead Bricking here. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. I discuss Lego investing, collecting, I do reviews, a lot of different things when it comes to Lego. Today, if you didn't notice by my thumbnail, I want to talk about things for Lego investing for beginners. Basically what I've learned. I've been doing this for a couple years now, and I've been a Lego collector definitely when I was a child, and then about the past 10 years as an adult. And when I went out there to buy older sets, I found websites like bricklink.com. I assume most of you know that one. If you don't, it's a great resource, great place to find probably the most fair prices when it comes to Lego. Doesn't mean that that's where we're going to sell them. I sell a little bit on there. But I went and found sets and realized, hey, these sets are a lot more expensive than I thought they would be. Same on Amazon, same on eBay. Well, I amassed more than I wanted to, and my wife basically said, you need to get rid of some sets. And I started selling some here and there, basically on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, which then led me to opening up. I got a small Bricklink store, and I've done pretty good with it. But in the beginning, I had all these questions like, what is Lego investing? Is it right for me? Can you make money? Is it smart? All that stuff. And I'm hoping that I can give you some of the knowledge that I have learned over the past couple years or more today. But I've learned from other YouTubers. I've learned from basically doing mainly my own research and learning how to research things like that, reading articles, doing anything I can to learn. I'm the type that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go head first into it and really learn as much as I can and put forth as much effort as I can. And that's what I've done, because I'm sure a lot of you have questions and you're hoping somebody can answer them. And I hope that I can answer some of them today. And if I haven't and you got a looming question, please drop it in the comments for me below. I would love to answer it for you. One of the first obvious questions I would say was, what is Lego investing? Everybody has an opinion, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, these are my opinions. That's my disclaimer. These are my opinions. To me, Lego investing is going out there and you buying Lego sets for, I would say, as discounted as you can. Probably 20% is a good starting place. Sometimes you can get a little more. Sometimes you're dealing with a little less depending on the set. Try to get it at a discounted price and hopes of selling it later for a profit, for more money, for a higher return on investment. Now that time frame in between is up to you if you want to flip it right away or, hold out for 1, 2, 3 years, 10, whatever some people do out there. That sounds crazy, but whatever. There's a couple terms that a lot of people throw around: reselling and investing. They are different. They have different definitions, but in my opinion, who cares? You invest in something that you resell later. There you go. Does it really matter? No. You're buying the Lego and you're selling it later. Another question was, why invest in Lego? Why invest in Lego versus stocks, bonds, crypto, whatever, Bitcoin, all that stuff, right? I think Lego is just another option of something to invest in. You can invest in all those things, and it's something you can add to your portfolio. Or maybe this is all you want to do. Everybody's different on that. I'm not going to get in my opinions. It doesn't really matter. I like Lego. One thing you've probably already seen those articles that people talk about, it's, it gets more return on investment than gold. I'm not going to get into that. They're out there. Feel free to go Google it. Before I really get into it, let me ask you a question. Have you ever ran your own business? Have you ever took the time to do something like that? It takes a lot of work, sometimes a lot of upfront capital to get it going, depending on what it is. You got to be very motivated, but I'm not saying that's something everybody wants to do. I would just say you might want to think like a business owner when it comes to something like that. You can kind of do this however you want to, if it's a hobby or if you want it to become a business later on. But I would say know your why. Why are you doing this? And a lot of times when you take on something new like this, you're going to come across all kinds of people and all kinds of opinions. People are going to laugh. They're going to question it. They're going to wonder why you're doing it. Some people are going to dismiss you. Some people are going to try to talk you out of it. But if your why is strong enough, plus I would say if you've done enough research, done your due diligence, your why should be strong enough, and you should have the belief that you can do this. And you definitely can. You can do this if you want to. So go out there, prove them wrong, and prove it to yourself that you were right. Why are you doing this? Do you want it for hobby money? Just to go out there and be able to spend money on yourself or your family? Do you want to build it into a business? A lot of people get into this and they use it as an e-commerce business. You may already be doing this with shoes or video games or whatever, and now you're looking at something else because people told you, hey, Lego does pretty good. Or you could be somebody like me that started out as a collector and you just really wanted to fund your hobby of being able to buy, the Optimus Prime that I just got, something like that. And it naturally evolved into, I want to make more money. I can make more money doing this. I do want to look at the financials. Lego releases their financial report every year. The 2021 is out. So let's just briefly look at some of their numbers. The Lego annual report is on their website. You can Google it if you choose. There's 74 pages. Feel free to go check it out. It gets very detailed as far as material costs and all kinds of stuff. I just kind of glanced through it, but all I really want to look at real quick is this page to kind of show you, if you are new and you're questioning Lego, to see that they have big numbers, that they're solid. I'm not going to get into super detail, but let's look at a couple of numbers. They had revenue of 55.3 billion Danish krones. I had to look that up. Forgive me. I don't know all the currency of the world, but when I did calculate it to US dollars, it's about $7.8 billion of revenue for 2021, which was 27% growth from 2020. And if you look further down in the report, they do give you the net profit, and I think it was around 1.8 billion, if I'm not mistaken, US dollars for 2021, which is pretty darn good for selling some clickable bricks. You can look at the operating profit. Wasn't going to get into that, but the other thing that's really cool is the far right column, not the free cash flow of 12.9 billion Danish krones, but right under that, top themes. This was cool, and a couple of these threw me off. So you got Lego City, Technic, Creator Expert, Harry Potter, and Star Wars. No surprise to me that Star Wars and Creator Expert are on there. Harry Potter, I definitely figured would fit. The one that threw me off was Technic. I'm starting to become a Technic fan, so just give me some time, but I did not see it being the top theme. City, I definitely can understand just because they have tons and tons of sets. City is kind of like the old school, been around forever, and they're a little cheaper with all kinds of cool little, giraffes and whatever. Anyway, my point here is they're strong financially. They're not going anywhere. They've been around for, I don't remember how many years, since like 1940, 50, but they've really been kicking it hard since the 70s. They're arguably, if not the biggest known toy name out there. So feel confident if you do want to venture into Lego investing, whether you're buying a handful of sets or you're buying hundreds or whatever it may be, they are a solid company. I would think most everybody knows that already and believes that, but I wanted to give you some stats from Lego Group. They don't lie. Hopefully their numbers don't lie, right? And they're a solid company. I believe that, and you can go and see what they're selling for. Do your due diligence. Go to Camel, go to whatever website you like and go look at the numbers. There were some other questions I had that I will tell you that you should ask yourself. And again, these are my opinions. How much money can you afford to put to Lego investing? Some people have lots of expendable income and they can go heavy all in, but then there's some of you, I feel like I'm one of those included. I'm a baller on a budget, as my buddy used to say. So how much can you afford to put into it without hurting yourself financially? Everybody's going to be different here. Is it $10 a month? Is it 50, 100, 500 plus? I would say figure out what that budget is for yourself. And obviously it may go up or down some months. Some people may use credit cards or whatever. That's none of my business. But I would say figure out what works for you and try to allocate those dollars to building up your inventory. Another question would be, what is your strategy gonna be? Some people probably don't think about it. I didn't think about it. I just started buying stuff, right? And I'm buying and I'm getting all these different SKUs and listening to other people and doing research. But this year, I'm really focusing more on limiting we call them SKUs, but limiting the amount of sets that I'm actually going to invest in to go a little deeper into them, because I don't want to have 50 to 100 SKUs and I have one or two of them. I'd rather have 10, 20, maybe 30 would be a good start for one item for my inventory. So what is your strategy? Would you hold for a certain amount of time and then sell? Say at 2 years, I'm going to sell them. Or are you, like I think most people are, aiming for a certain return on investment before you pull the trigger? So say you want to get 200% return on investment on most sets. That's kind of your base. Like once I see that it's selling in the aftermarket for 200%, then I'm going to pull the trigger and release them. I think that's a pretty good strategy, but there's other things to consider. What if you never get there and time continues to go by? I would think at some point it's probably best to let them go. I know there's a lot of people out there and they'll sit there and they'll hold sets for 5-10 years. That's not me. I don't see the point in that. If that's your choice, go for it. Do what is best for you, right? I would rather churn and burn, get some more, sell them, get some more, sell them within a good time frame, but make sure I'm getting a good return on investment. But there's going to be times you're not going to hit that 200%. You might pick a Lego set that just doesn't sell as high as you wanted it to in, say, a 2-year time frame, and you're sitting there like, okay, this is taking up my room, I need to do something with it, you know, but you're still going to make money on it, but maybe not what you expected. It's probably best at some point to assess that and pull the trigger and go ahead and sell them, get that money back, reinvest again, wash and repeat, as people say, right? I'm a firm believer of that 1 to 3 year hold time. I really don't want to hold anything for 3 years. My wife would kill me, right? But 1 to 2 years is probably ideal. I hear a lot of people out there doing 1.5, 2.5. I think that range is about right to give a set enough time to appreciate to a good return on investment and pull the trigger and go get your money back. If you can do it sooner, like, hey, we see you TIE Fighter helmet, something like that. I know a lot of people have already gone on and sold them, and why not? You got a good amount of money to go ahead and put into something else. Another thing is, are you patient enough? A lot of people out there with reselling with Lego, and I'm sure it applies to anything, they're very impatient. They want to get their money back. Well, if you want to sell it quick, that's better for the rest of us that are patient, because your inventory is gone. That's less supply, and most of the time, hopefully, if it's a good set, there's still the demand, which will drive up the price for the rest of us. But it's something to think about. What is your patience threshold? You know, can you tolerate waiting a year, 2 years, 3 years? You know, if you can wait 5 or more, God bless you. Have fun with that. I know you could take what I would call a staggered approach, and I've talked to other people that do this, and I actually think this is probably a pretty good idea. And what I mean by a staggered approach is, say you have, let's say 30 speed champions, right? You got 30 of them, and after, call it 6 months to a year, you pull the trigger and sell 10 of them to get some of that capital back and reinvest. And then maybe the next 10, you sell them in that year to 2 year mark, and then call it 2 to 3 year for that last 10. Something like that. I would consider like a staggered approach, where each time, hopefully, over the amount of time, you're getting a higher return on investment, but you're selling off some to recoup money to keep reinvesting while some of it is still growing. I hope that makes sense. I like that approach. I'm planning on doing that with some sets, probably a lot of the smaller sets, something like a Speed Champion. Things like the Gingerbread House, I would probably hold on to those for 2 years. Now this Q4, if they're going for a crazy amount of money, I'll probably go ahead and sell them and get my money back and reinvest it into the Elf House. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'll get a couple of them. I would say that approach is probably more time-based versus return on investment approach, but you can put them in there together. You know, obviously, if you get to that return on investment, go ahead and pull the trigger. And if not, you maybe stagger some out the door to get your money back. So that kind of leans into, how long are you willing to hold your sets, right? Some people are willing to sit there on them and let them collect dust. And hey, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I have no desire to do that. I would like to move them as soon as possible to recoup my money, reinvest, and keep the ball rolling. And hopefully the snowball effect, it keeps getting bigger. You know, are you a flipper? And I don't mean to offend anybody, but with that name, it's just the name that I use that other people use. And you can look at it however you want. We could all say we're flipping, whether it's 3 months or 3 years down the road, doesn't really matter. But I'd look at it, somebody that's probably moving the product quickly. You know, let's just give it a time frame for this purpose of, say, 6 months or less, right? And there are a lot of people that seem to do really well with that. They get some product, they hold it for a little bit, the price goes up a little bit, they sell it, reinvest, wash and repeat. And they do pretty well with that, but they're going through a lot more quantity. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's, I guess, a strategy, whichever works for you. But that's an idea. Like I already said, in my personal opinion, I think most people probably hold from 1 year to about 3 years. Anything after that, I feel like I'm just going to say, in my opinion, you're holding it way too long. You're just holding on to money. It's taking up space. We're dealing with a physical product, and we all know some of these Lego sets are big. They take up a lot of room. So unless you got a lot of storage, I would say after 3 years, you might want to get rid of them. Think of it like this, though. Lego is capital that is tied up, and it's just sitting there, not doing anything. I mean, yes, it's appreciating, but physically, it's not doing anything. So do you want to run the risk of holding it for longer and missing out on a lower return on investment to then reinvest in something that may perform better in the long run? That's for you to decide, but that could potentially happen if you try to hold it too long. You're missing out on money that you could have recouped, reinvested, and made more money in the meantime. Just a thought. So I kind of tapped on this a minute ago, but I'll say diversify, 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 right? We've all heard that, that phrase over all kinds of investment talk forever, right? That's a very common phrase. But to diversify more than someone else, I would say you need to have more money than other people. So that's for you to decide how much can you afford into it. If you're new to Lego investing, I would say maybe invest in just a few SKUs, maybe 5, maybe 10 if you got the money, and maybe go, 5 to 10 deep on each and see how well you do. Obviously, if you haven't ever heard, Q4, the fourth quarter of the year, is generally the best time of the year to sell. Some holiday stuff may sell better at other times, but But majority of the time, everybody saves up that Christmas money. Grandma goes out there and spends it on you, and they have that expendable money to pay a little more for your set. So if it's something new to you, get a few SKUs of whatever, do your research, Minecraft, Speed Champions, Star Wars, whatever, architecture, and try it out and see how it does for you. Everybody's always heard success is a big motivator, right? If you get a little success, it's going to help your belief that you can do this, and you're going to be willing to put more money into it. You know, I was listening to something earlier today, and the lady was talking about tiptoeing into it. Hey, everybody's different. I dive into stuff. My wife hates it, but hey, some of you probably can relate, and some of you may be the tiptoers. This may be a way to do that. Get a few versus having 50 SKUs of an item and you got 1 to 2 each, and some of them may just be bad apples and you just don't really get the amount of money you were looking for. One thing I would ask of you is do your research. You know, go out there and look on websites like Camel. I use it in a lot of my videos. Pretty simple. You can bring up the graph chart. You can see how well they did. If you want to get more in depth, you can use Keepa.com, which is a Chrome extension for Amazon, and look at their sales. You can also go on eBay, you know, look at 5 to 10 sets that have sold in the past few days or whatever it may be, and take the average. Whatever, I've done it in my videos. Feel free to look if you have any questions about that. When it comes to eBay though, make sure you check new and sold listings. Otherwise, you're going to get the guy that's selling something for $200 that really is only going for $100. You don't need that. Get what actually has sold recently. You can also look at sales history on Bricklink too, which I think is another valuable resource. Between Amazon, eBay, Bricklink, you can really get a good gauge on what things are selling and selling well and selling better than others. You can even go to Amazon and see the rankings of what's selling right now as far as toys and Lego building sets. That's a really good way to see what's currently selling hot. Another thing to think about is the cost to you. One of them specifically is your time. It takes time to go out there and do retail arbitrage, to go to Target, to go to Walmart, to go to Kohl's, to go to Barnes & Noble, go to these stores and see if you can find some deals. Obviously, if you can do it online and you can get a good deal, more power to you. Walmart, typically twice a year, usually in July, and then about the end of the year, beginning of January, they have a clearance, and man, you can really find some good deals, but it's tough sometimes to find those sets and find them in quantity. But if you can find something heavily discounted, 50, 60, 75% off, I've found stuff, I kid you not, you can find stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't get them all, but there are some sets that I wouldn't have normally invested in, but when it's 75% off, I bought it knowing you can get your money back and then some easily, even if it's never what you maybe would want it for it. But my point is, whether you're going online and buying quantity of 2 at Walmart, quantity of 2 at Amazon multiple times, those of you that have done that, you know what I'm talking about. It takes a little time. Now, if you're just buying a couple carts, that's one thing. But if you're wanting to buy, you know, like say 20 Speed Champions at 2, it takes a little bit of time. But these are things that a lot of people don't factor in. Now, some people are very adamant that your time costs money, right? And you got to factor in, well, I know during my day job, I make this amount of money, you know, basically an hour or salary or whatever. And I feel like that my time is costing me this amount of money versus there's people like myself that don't. I'm just going to be honest. I don't care as much because I enjoy doing that. I enjoy finding the deals and buying the stuff, knowing that I'm going to make money later. It's fun for me. It's fun for me. And I know a lot of other people that find it fun. But if you're that person that says time is money, hey, I totally get that. And that's something that I would say you need to consider. Another one that people talk about some is space and storage. My goodness gracious. Like I said, Lego, they take up a lot of room, a lot of space. If you're wanting to buy those modulars, those bad boys are going to take up a lot of room fast. But if you get smaller ones, you can obviously stack more. But again, you got to think about space and storage, right? You know, do you have a room set aside? You know, I've filled up my closets. I got stuff, you know, at another person's house. I got it in the basement, all kinds of stuff. I got Lego everywhere. You know, I've thought about going and getting like a rent a storage unit. I don't know if I want to do that. I'd rather have my Lego at a place that I know and trust the people that are occupying it, that live there. You know, some people rent business storage units, which I think is really cool. Small office in a building or something. That might be a good idea. I think storage units probably have their place. I would definitely say get an indoor air conditioned one. I live in Georgia, and if you've ever been to Georgia, and right now it is 93 degrees and humid outside, it's brutal. I would never put my Lego in my garage. I've had a couple in there in the winter to experiment and they did fine. But this time of year, no way. They need to be somewhere that has air conditioning, and or a place that I have a lot of my Lego has a humidifier just to pull out any of that humidity just in case, because a lot of the Lego sets have those seals You don't want them falling off, coming unstuck, because people are going to question that is it really new? Now, if it's not a new set, you're selling a used one like I do on Bricklink, who cares, right? One thing that I really like that Lego has done is a lot of these now have those perforated boxes, and that's awesome for resellers as far as I'm concerned. But then when it comes to storage, you want to have some good racks, I would say. You know, I find these plastic ones. So if you're going to get more than just a handful of Lego sets, you're probably going to need some kind of storage. Even if it's in your closet, I would probably get some kind of racks. I went to Home Depot. I'm sure people buy things on Amazon, whatever. I like these racks right here. They're these plastic racks, the HDX. I know a lot of people use these metal ones and you can actually adjust the height on them, which I think is probably very beneficial. But I started buying these white ones that I really like from Home Depot. Now you can't adjust them, which is a negative to them, I would say, but I've been able to get quite a few different styles of sets on there. I've been able to get the creeper mines on there and then lay a couple down on the top. I still am able to fill the space and feel like I'm getting good use out of them and maximizing my storage. Some of you may have used these, some of you may have used the metal ones. If there's other storage out there that you really like and use, please drop a comment below. Let me know what you use. I'd love to hear about it. Maybe something that I can pick up in the future, as I'm going to need more storage racks. Just a couple other things to think about. Storage and space is going to come around. Another thing is just shipping supplies, right? You got boxes, you got tape, you may need box cutters and bubble wrap and the brown paper to fill in the space. And then there's different types of bubble wrap. So these are things you need to think about if you plan on doing this. I would say any size scale, right? There's even thermal printers. I've spoken to people that use those and I've seen them in action, and those things look like they work wonderfully. I've heard enough good things about them that I definitely could understand spending the money to get something good like that. You need a good printer to print off shipping labels, ink. Things like that cost money, right? A company that I'm probably going to start buying more from and getting boxes from is Uline. I think people have spoken about Grainger before, but Uline is a company that there's actually a warehouse right around the street, and I got a buddy that works there, so he can give me his discount. So I'm probably going to start buying my supplies from there, which will definitely help me out and reduce my costs overall, because you have to buy, I think it's a minimum of 25 boxes at a time from them. I think the same with Staples. You got to buy a minimum amount of, it may be 25 boxes, and their boxes I think are a little, they're probably similar price. You got to think about things like that. Boxes, tape, all these other things, shipping supplies in general, right? Back to talking about retail arbitrage. And as of the recording today, gas is freaking expensive. It's way more expensive than it's been in quite a while. So that's something to think about, right? If you're driving around to multiple stores, you know, in one day or overtime, or however you plan on doing that, you want to get in there in the mornings and see if there's deals, go in late at night, as some of these other YouTubers do, which I think is really cool, you know, trying to get in there when it's less crowded, try to find some deals. That's another factor to think about. Another one, and let me put in another disclaimer, I am no tax professional, but you have taxes, right? We all pay taxes. Do you want to be like a sole proprietorship or an LLC? Again, I am not a lawyer. I am not a tax professional. Go seek that help out for that advice if that is something for you, but it's something to consider. You know, LLCs do cost a little bit of money to set up, you know, but you can still go get an EIN through the IRS.gov if you wanted to have that federal tax ID, and it should be free. So that's something that you could do just to have that very, very beginning stage of owning your own business, doing your own thing, versus it just being under your name if you choose to do so. So I got a little bit more to go, but I want to stop for a second and just say thank you if you are still watching this. I hope this brings value to you. Please consider smashing that like button and subscribing to my channel. It really does help me out. I want to make sure that I'm bringing value to you, especially if this is your first video of me. I hope that I'm helping you, or at least giving you some things to think about. So something else to think about, where are you going to sell? So most people are probably selling on eBay. eBay's pretty easy. You can go set up an account. Most people probably already have an eBay account. I've had one for years and years and years, right? And I've sold all kinds of stuff on there. Lego being probably the main thing, right? But there's also Amazon. I'm not an Amazon seller yet. That's something that I want to get myself into this year and go through filling out the paperwork, but I just haven't done it yet. You know, if that's something you think you would like to see a video on in the future of me in that process, and if I can get ungated or not, as we all have probably heard the lingo, you have to get ungated with Lego. Lego, I'd be happy to do that. Let me know. But there's also Bricklink, right? I have a Bricklink store. That was very easy to set up. Took some pictures of my inventory, showed them, hey, with me in it. They wanted pictures of me in it, letting them know, hey, look, I do really have product. It's right here. There's Mercari. I probably won't sell on there. I haven't heard the greatest things about it, but if you've had a good experience with it, let me know. Facebook Marketplace is another good place to sell. It's kind of like eBay. It takes a little time to load the information, do one at a time or whatever it may be, but I've sold quite a bit of stuff on there, most of it locally, and I've shipped it. And I've put in my description, the buyer pays for the shipping, right? That's another thing that I didn't say earlier when it comes to cost. I don't pay for shipping. You know, a lot of people may disagree on that. I know a lot of people don't pay for shipping. I look at it as you want the product. If it's a good enough product and there's enough demand for it, you're willing to pay the shipping, whether it's $10, $20, maybe $30 for a bigger set, but I'm not going to pay for that. So I didn't put it in the costs. There's Whatnot. I haven't delved into that, but I've heard about it. If you got any good experience with that one, let me know in the comments below. But back to Amazon, there is FBA and FBM. So you got Fulfilled by Amazon, FBA, where you can send your Lego or whatever you're wanting to sell on Amazon to them, and they do everything for you. They do all the shipping, and they get it out there, deal with the customer service. And to me, that's really cool. That takes that off your plate, especially if you have a lot of sets. And then you got FBM, Fulfilled by Merchant, which is basically, in my opinion, like eBay, Bricklink. You're doing it all yourself and you're sending it to the member. So there's that as well when it comes to Amazon. Something to think about. One last thing I'll say is do your research. I already kind of hit on it. A lot of people say do your due diligence. You need to do research. You don't have to. You can go out there and buy what you want. Go off of your feelings. I do that when it comes to Star Wars, but I've trained myself to look at the research. And there's a lot of other people out there that there's a lot of other great content creators in the Lego space that I watch, and they have awesome ideas and thoughts, and they, you know, do some research too. But otherwise, I would say do it yourself and see, does this set make sense for me to invest in? But if you look at the previous history of something very similar or as similar as you can, that should give you a good gauge. If not, hopefully give you some confidence that you can sell it. Lego's going to sell, right? I think we can all agree Lego's going to sell. Some sets are just going to sell for more. You know, you may get some sets that sell for less than you wanted or even what you initially paid for them. I think that's why it's good to get them on a good discount. 20% I'd say is probably a fair average. You know, if you can get a little more with credit card discounts or Rakuten or the Target Circle card, whatever, Red Circle, something like that. All those little things can help add up. I like freeshipping.com. I'll probably do another video on something like that one day. Any kind of discounts are going to hedge the amount of money you may make or lose when it comes to selling your inventory. When it comes to research, there's things you can do like look at retirement lists. Now, if you've been doing this for a little bit, that doesn't mean that they're 100% accurate. Lego.com or Lego Group is the one and all, end all, be all, most accurate because it's their stuff, right? But you can go to certain websites like brickset.com and they give you set dates of when things are slated to retire, and that's a good gauge. I like Brick Fanatics as well. They have good lists, but then they update them almost monthly, every once in a while. So take it with a grain of salt, but most of it's fairly accurate. There's gonna be things like the treehouse. We thought it was gonna die and it's still alive. I think majority of the time these lists are pretty darn accurate. And if there's a set that you really like and you've looked at similar sets in history, go ahead and get it, right? A rule of thumb when it comes to purchasing the sets, I'll say real quick, is you want to get them as close to retirement. You've probably heard that before. If you haven't, I'm telling you now, right? You don't want to go get Optimus Prime that just came out. I bought that for my personal collection and now the price is about to go up, right? But if I want to invest in that, I'm going to look at probably, you know, let's say 2 years down the line. Most Lego shelf life is probably a year to 2, maybe 3 years. Some can be more, but 2 years is 1.5, 2 years is probably that fair average for the life of a Lego set. So you really want to get it closer to retirement. I know a lot of people look at, myself included, I start probably looking at the lists and everything and aiming to start buying them a year to 6 months from when they should retire. So right now we're in June. If the set's retiring in December, I'm buying it, right? I'm trying to see what I can buy now to fill up my inventory, and because I know I'm going to wait. The thinking on that is the later you buy it, the less time you have to hold it, right? So if you buy it early on, you're going to have to hold it for longer for it to retire and then appreciate. You know, you want to check this and see what stocks are continually going out of stock. One in particular is the Clone Trooper, the little battle pack, blister pack for $15. That set is never in stock. I don't don't have many of them. I probably got 10 to 12 of them, and I want to buy more of them. People want that set for their army building. I know a lot of other resellers are probably buying it. I don't hear many people talking about it, but that set is out of stock all the time. I put the alerts on, it comes back, and then it's gone. It's hard to come by. Something like that, just to give you an idea, something like that is worth looking at, in my opinion, because it may show that there's a high demand and low supply already for it. Even though the supply may be great, there's just a high demand for something like that. Something to look into. And when they go out of stock, go look at Amazon, eBay, Facebook, and see what people are selling them for. Guaranteed they're going for more money, right? People are flipping them right now because there's just the demand is greater than the supply from Lego. Just a thought. So here are just some final thoughts that I want to leave you with, right? Are you happy with the money you're making? Are you having fun doing this? I know it may sound a little lame, but I do get a little bit of an adrenaline rush when I go and find lots of sets, really good discounts. You know, when you find those clearance sets, it's really fun. You know, just control yourself, because maybe not all of them are worth it, but if it's heavily discounted, it may be worth just picking up some to try it out and see what you can sell them for later on. It's just really cool to walk out of Target with a cart or two full of bank. That's how I look at it. Those are my final thoughts. Let me know your comments below. Did I miss anything? Did you agree, disagree with anything? What are your experiences when it comes to this stuff? And just any other questions that you may have. I hope that I can help answer them for you or just give you my thoughts. And as always, Mike with Dead Bricking, I'm out.